Welcome to another episode of the Fanarchy with Rivet podcast. I'm joined by Braden Milford, a manager for Wyatt Flores. How are you doing today, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay, all things considered.
Yeah, welcome to Nashville.
Thank you. 2-hour delayed flight. Rolled straight here.
Brutal.
How's your day been going?
Good. Just, another day at work. Not too bad. No complaints. Yeah.
We love it. We're going to talk a lot about Rivet and how you use it for Wyatt, but wanted to start first with how you even started working with Wyatt. You told me a crazy story last time we grabbed drinks, so I just wanted you to start there.
Yeah, so, I'm from Oklahoma, like Wyatt is, but I was going to school out in California, and then COVID hit. I was going to do the whole med school thing, kind of go on that track. I was doing science fairs in high school and stuff, and COVID hit, and I didn't want to do class online like through Zoom or anything like that. I wanted to be there in person if I was going to do it. So I took a gap year and just decided to do something I normally wouldn't have done. I've always loved country music, so I'm like, who can I hit up? Just find some random places to intern, start working in country music, because if I was in med school, just never would have done that. And ended up meeting Wyatt during that time, and we honestly just kind of hit it off and became friends. I think we were both 19 or 20. He had a show at some bar, and he just gave me his guitar to carry in, so I looked like I was part of the band, even though he was just playing alone. We wouldn't get kicked out, and we ended up back in Stillwater drinking till 9 a.m., watching the sun come up, and just kind of hit it off as friends first before anything. And we kind of just kept hanging out, and I started helping him make some TikToks and started getting some traction. And then here we are kind of 4 years later. He's just kept me right alongside with him and kind of fully grown into that manager role.
That's amazing. Drinking till 9 a.m. till the sun comes up. That's like a love story.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah. True old Wyatt Flores fashion. Things have calmed down a lot, thankfully. But that's how it all started.
What was it like making those first TikToks? Like, what were you focused on since this was kind of your first time?
Yeah, a lot of it was, his personality. That's one of the best things about him. Obviously, he's great at writing and singing and just kind of being an artist and a creative, but I think what a lot of artists don't do that Wyatt does so well is just be willing to show off his personality, like being willing to do something stupid. I remember one of our first viral TikToks, the one chip challenge where it's like that spicy chip or whatever. Yeah. I got one just to play prank on him and filmed it and handed it to him. And he wouldn't open it and he wouldn't do it. And I was like, come on, you're Mexican. You have this in you. And he was just like, I'm only half. And then that's kind of where we clipped it, and it just went viral. Just stuff he says and just how he is, his demeanor. He's always willing to he's a jokester, and just capturing that on camera, I feel like made a great dichotomy with just his kind of depressing songs, and it kind of got a lot of people interested. Oh, he can sing this very, very depressing song, but then cracking jokes on the side, doing stupid stuff. I think that was kind of a big goal early on, was to show both sides of it.
That's amazing. And this was kind of before what everyone knows now.
Yeah.
So tell me when things started to feel like, okay, wow, this is a little crazy.
I think it was, we put Please Don't Go out in July of 2022. And that's kind of the song that took off and got everything moving. And it was about 6 months later, we just kind of, we'd been posting about it on TikTok, but we really kind of started telling the story about the mental health side of that song. It was written about someone he was in a relationship with at the time. Both of them weren't doing well, and it's about mental health and, kind of suicide and things like that. And it was really when we started telling that story on TikTok, everybody kind of finally realized what that song meant, and it just went insane. And then, labels started calling, and it was just, that's when everything kind of started. Shows started happening, festival offers, it all kind of happened from telling the story of that song on social media. Yeah.
You didn't miss med school at that time?
No. I dropped out in January of 2024, so it's been just over a year. But I literally had my classes scheduled to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Thursday night, I'd fly out of San Francisco to wherever Wyatt was, and then fly back in, like on the red eye, leaving at midnight from Nashville, landing at like 8 a.m. in California, and then going straight to class. And it was time. And so far, it's been a good decision, but we'll see.
That's the hustle that people don't know.
Yeah.
See. That's crazy.
It was fun. It was really fun. My friends out of school never really, I think, understood it till we played out in the Bay Area, and I brought them all to the show, and they're like, okay, you're actually like
legit.
doing something. Yeah. You're not going to just like drink beer with your buddy.
Yeah,
You're doing something.
Yeah,
so that's
my buddy's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So at that time, you're getting all these calls from labels and all of that stuff. And what really struck me about your story was you're just dropping out of school, no experience in the industry. What is it like navigating all of that with no experience? Like, how do you even do that?
It's kind of interesting. I think me and my other co-manager, William, we're the first to admit, like, we don't know what we don't know.
At that time, right?
And still today, it's I don't think there's a world where you'll ever know everything you need to know until you've been doing it for so long. So we're still very much learning. We're lucky to have such a great team around us. Our booking team at CAA is incredible. Our label, our teams at Island are incredible. Just everyone, business management, attorneys, like just everyone we've kind of brought in around us is just so incredible. And they're, they meet us where we are. They provide their expertise. But then the other side of that is, I think there is a certain beauty to not knowing what you're supposed to do and taking all these certain steps. Of course, there's some that just make sense for the business, but just kind of following our gut and what we feel like is right. Just kind of looking at what other people are doing, seeing what we like, what we don't like, what Wyatt likes, what he doesn't like, and kind of just following that. That's been so much of our success on TikTok, and a lot of the music and our marketing around it has just been kind of following our gut and what feels like a good idea, and then testing it. Honestly, we test stuff out. Sometimes we don't know how things will go, but we'll try anything once and see what we get from it. But
yeah, and when you started, who were you kind of leaning on first to ask the questions of, I don't even know what to do here?
That's the label was really helpful with that. Specifically our A&R, his name's Austin Jenkins. He's been incredible. And then business management is great on, just the accounting of it all and how taxes work and just all the things that we would never even think about. Is great. And then in terms of shows, our agents over at CAA, they're so helpful. We kind of have a larger team over there of some more senior agents, who have been at it in all kinds of different genres, pop and Harry Styles and Glass Animals. And then we have Willie Nelson and Shania's agent as well. Some kind of, they've been around the block a few times and know how to advise on what the right shows at the right times and festivals and all that are. But then our younger agents on the team, Meredith and Jacob, they know the scene better than anyone I've ever met. And they just have such a feel for the type of music Wyatt makes and where he fits into this greater scene. And, kind of balancing, obviously there's kind of more commercial country music festivals, and then there's more cred driven ones like folk festivals and bluegrass festivals where really hardcore music fans go. So kind of just balancing out how we position Wyatt within country music. They've been so helpful with that because he has a lot of the writing and kind of more Americana capabilities that's associated with the cred, but then he also has this mainstream kind of country appeal. So it's trying to position ourselves kind of between the two where we can have fans of both really like Wyatt's music. They've been so helpful kind of figuring that out with
I love
us.
that you have a bit of a mix of more experienced folks and then the folks who are on the ground and know what's going
great.
on. Yeah.
It's so great. We are very lucky to be in good hands over there. Yeah.
Amazing. So now switching gears a little bit to how we met. This is the Rivet portion. Tell me a little bit about, so a lot of this crazy stuff's happening, stuff's moving really quickly. What were kind of your big challenges before we met?
So, I mean, obviously from the science fair and kind of just science background, I'm a total data nerd. I just love it. Love seeing what I can do with it. I have like a 50-page spreadsheet that I have like coded to auto update from our merch reports on the road every night, and it like graphs and runs stats, and I just like love analyzing data in all the different ways.
Music
And
to my
like
ears.
I will just like geek out. That's probably kind of lame, but I will like just sit
No, let's
and
do
stare
that.
at Excel
Let's do that right
spreadsheets
here.
for hours
Yeah.
on end and just look at all the different things. So CRM's always been pretty big for us. We were with another company and we saw a lot of growth, kind of just figuring out like what the effectiveness, levels are to like just send out messages. We rolled out an album last year, so just trying to figure out the best ways to activate fans whose data we have. Obviously you don't want to spam them, but you also don't want to not use that data.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we tried a lot of different things. And it's expensive if you just, send messages to everyone all the time. And then I think our biggest limitation is we have these massive lists of data, locations, purchase behavior, just all these different things. But kind of our big thing was we were never able to segment it in ways that was really meaningful. Obviously, you can announce to all your, 25,000, 30,000 fans that we had at the time, like on a message, hey, there's vinyl. The odds of, that many people being interested in vinyl and wanting to buy a vinyl is very, very low. So I think our biggest challenge was like, how do we get pertinent information to the right fans to where you're not just spamming people with stuff that they don't even care about? How do you target, fans better based on the information you have to get just the full benefit, of the cost of sending that message and, texting them. I mean, it's annoying when just random companies or whatever send you all these like spam emails and stuff. You don't want to spam anyone.
Yeah.
So how do you activate it on it in a meaningful way that's going to grow our business and the kind of the fan to artist relationship, but also not waste everyone's time and energy and, kind of make everyone worn out, I guess.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Hopefully that's what we're helping you do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'll get more into that. And that's kind of the premise of what we built the company on. It needs to feel authentic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a business element, so it needs to make sense for your business. And then as you grow and continue to grow that data, that's really your power. That's the business right there.
Yeah.
So it's just even refreshing to hear that this is like you're so deep in it. And
yeah.
This is what you think about. How then did you find out about Rivet?
So we partner with a company in Nashville. I think they're based everywhere, but a team here called M Theory. I guess kind of going back to being a new manager and also 23 years old and not knowing everything that there is to be known.
Look at the resume.
We have, there's a company called M Theory, and they basically are just there to support managers however they need help. So I mentioned with the kind of previous platform we were using, it was really expensive, wasn't super effective. There were starting to be some technical difficulties. Messages weren't sending out when they were scheduled to, and DM automations weren't working, and it wasn't just working as it should. And so I was like, hey.
And what does that do for you as like the manager or the person?
In theory?
No, the fact when that's not working as you expect.
I mean, it's just another thing to add to the list of stress. It's obviously there's a lot of things to be across, and it's nice when things work like they're supposed to. Just kind of creates another headache, but then also in a more detrimental way. We were in the middle of rolling out an album, Wyatt's debut album.
That's the big one.
Yeah, and we'd spent 3 years kind of building to this moment, and so we really wanted to be able to activate and message the fans in all the right ways, and them actually get the messages and messages be sent, and it not cost a fortune and not have to be talking to support every day. And that's just like one more thing that we did not need on our plate at that time.
Or anytime.
Honestly. But yeah, so I went to M Theory. They kind of help us just with anything we ask them to, and help provide a lot of knowledge for us as well. I was like, hey, I think I don't know what else is out there, but this isn't working and we need it to be working. So like just had them submit a list of other other options out there. We had kind of a big 2025 planning meeting, and they told us about some, and they brought up Rivet, and that y'all were kind of new, but kind of started talking about the features and a lot of the AI and the segmentation and just how powerful it can really be if you know how to activate it and are willing to spend the time to do that. And it was just right up my alley from the start. I was like, let's learn more about that. And then I think the next week we were on a meeting.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And that actually goes into my next question. You had the meeting, you saw the features, and I'll touch on something that you said before. But first, what made you then decide to try it after this meeting?
I mean, I think it was really just seeing how powerful it can be. Obviously, like with our store connected, our socials connected. I mean, I love the insights. That's also something I never saw. Like connecting it with the Instagram and being able to kind of see a segment of your fans and like what percent of accounts are engaged, what accounts are super engaged, what's the fall off, how long has it been since like this percent has liked a post. Never been able to see that kind of data. It might be on Instagram, but it's super hard to go find through that app. So that was cool, but it was really just, I mean, I think the way y'all have built it is really smart because there's really no limit to how you want to segment your data. Just having that little search bar and being able to like just type in something as random of like, show me fans who bought vinyl 3 times in the last year and live within 50 miles of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Say we're doing like a record signing event in Tulsa and wanted to like invite a few fans. Like being able to segment that is something we never thought was out there, and that's just so powerful. It really lets us kind of target it. Same thing with like super fans, the fact that it like keeps score on like who's liking your Instagram posts and buying from your store and clicking your links. You can really start to segment like who your super fans are and send them stuff in the mail. And, it really allows for, I think, meaningful and kind of tactful connection between us and like as Wyatt's team and Wyatt to his fans. He was talking about the other day, just finding like the 50 most active fans and just like texting them a video. Easy. And being able to do that is just so easy. You just like type a sentence, hit the button, and it's like done.
Yeah. That's amazing. And you talked a little bit now about how easy it is to do that segmentation and how easy it is to just do the actions that are important to you. That's a big thing that we're focused on this year is showing people just how easy it is.
Yeah.
And the thing that you said that I wanted to harp on was when you said they told you can get a lot out of it if you put a bunch of time in and you invest a bunch of time in. But on the flip side, how easy have you found it to use?
So easy. I mean, I remember we were on the bus, I think, between Philadelphia and New York last year, and I was just like, it was when we were kind of getting on board and getting ready to do the Christmas card thing. And I just spent like an hour in there and was like, I mean, it's just so intuitive. It's right in front of you. And walking through with Simron was super easy. That was also so nice just as we were setting up that first campaign, just, it spent 30 minutes, an hour in there, just kind of getting the lay of the land, and then had questions, typed them up, emailed it to Simron, and she hit me back like that same day and just like, here's how you do this, here's how you do this, and helped set up some of it. And I mean, I got the feel of it so quickly, just a couple of days, and Simron was great. Just being so responsive, like, if you can't figure something out, you'll get a response very quickly on how to do it.
That's something that we focus on a lot because going back to what you said, we really think support can be, if done right, positive and a value add, and not this thing that, gotta talk to support again.
Yeah.
And then we don't want to be that kind of support.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm going through the other side of that, trying to get this wildfire relief auction going.
Exactly,
right now, and
but not that kind of. We actually want to support you.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, trying to get a nonprofit and a charity platform to connect is a lot harder than you think it'd be.
Oh, yeah. Giving people stuff.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. Like, what are you trying to do?
Yeah, it's a pain. But no, it's so easy. It was great. And that first walkthrough call, just getting everything set up to now, even if, like, I think someone on our team sent Simran an email the other day, and it was taken care of within minutes. It's so easy.
This is music to my ears. I didn't even know it was this good. We're never going to clip that. And tell me about that Christmas card campaign and why you think activations and doing things like that with fans is so important, and kind of what you were going for there and how it ended.
Yeah. I mean, part of it's Wyatt as well. Everyone wants to keep their fans engaged and wants, I think a lot of times when you're asking fans for data, if it's just like sending them to like, a form or whatever to just sign up, just to be in the fan club or whatever, there's no real incentive to do anything. Then it's just like, why would I give you my phone number and my address or whatever it is? And it's like, it's like, you don't really need that, especially these days where like everyone's freaked out about everyone having all their information and all that.
Yeah.
I think it's really just kind of goes back to maintaining that artist-fan relationship. I think a lot of times, I mean, I'm fans of all kinds of different artists and stuff. There's some that are just, they seem like this kind of far off idea of a person that's like unreachable, and just kind of doing their thing, but they're just almost not even a person. There's just like this idea of this like character that they are, and there's no like direct connection with the fans. But Wyatt, we've always been so big on, like, he is just a dude. He's like funny. He does stupid stuff sometimes. He does, like, he's just a guy.
A half Mexican dude.
Yeah. He's just a guy. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. And obviously socials can kind of be taxing on an artist too. There gets to be a point to where you just can't look at every DM, can't read every comment. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not healthy to do that either. And so I think for Wyatt and for us, our big thing is just how do we help him stay engaged with his fans, and especially the super fans, in a way that's, healthy for everyone involved, but also like rewarding. Like, they feel good about being a fan of Wyatt, and Wyatt feels good about how he treats his fans. And so it's like, obviously it helps us on the business side with tour marketing, like selling tickets and merch and things like that, to have this fan data. So it's like, what can we do that's personal from Wyatt to incentivize people to do that? And that Christmas card campaign was kind of the first thing that we did when we moved over to Rivet. And it was, it was December, is end of the year. It's just, Wyatt loves to just do funny stuff. So I think we had a dinner in Canada and like went in a wine cellar. And they had Nickelback playing, and we just took this band photo, and Wyatt's like, he just said in the moment, we should send that out to our fans as a Christmas card. And next thing we know, next week things were moving.
How easy was it?
It was so easy. We just posted to the story, and fans could just, swipe up right there and send the word like Xmas and fill out their form, and, they were entered to get one. It's like, I did it when I was kind of testing it out. It took like 15 seconds, and, and I got one in the mail too. So I got selected, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it's on my fridge now. But, it's so easy. Just things like that. It just makes it so much more meaningful than just a story post with like a link that you click, and it's just like, join my fan club.
Yeah.
I'll text you like 3 times a month.
Whenever
and it's just like so impersonal. Like, I think that's why we've been so successful in Rivet, but then also just how we approach a lot of things, and why his career is just being so purposeful with what we do, and not just doing it for the business. We're doing it for the engagement between the fan and the artist. That's what's going to grow the business in the long term. It's not just, we need these phone numbers so we can text them.
Exactly. What sounds like you spend a lot of time on the platform.
Yeah.
Philly and New York on tour buses, guessing backstage at home.
Yeah.
What do you use the most in the platform?
Now that we have our store connected, starting to look at that stuff a lot, which has been still diving in there, but so helpful. I mean, the fact that we can go to like any product on the store and have a list of people who have bought that product is great for, when we start doing new releases and stuff. Like, we did a collab with this company called Montana Silversmiths, and have these nice like silver belt buckles with Wyatt's logo and stuff on it. And we're looking at doing another one, and obviously that is not something that everyone's going to want to buy. So being able to just click on that and like, hey, you got this belt buckle, here's the new one, like, target like that. I'd say honestly that little kind of search bar feature, sometimes it's like not even for any purpose other than just like I want to know how many people have done this and live near here.
Yeah.
I'll just type random stuff in like at 2 a.m. when I'm trying to fall asleep and just be like, like I wonder how many fans we have in Northern Australia who, have liked this many posts, or like, it's I definitely just find myself asking that little search bar so many random questions.
That's amazing. Just using Pupper for fun.
Yeah, honestly, just for fun. Just like, like what are the demographics of our fan base? Like, and it's cool. I'd also say pre-sale. Like we use a site in the US called Seeded, which has an integration for Rivet. So anyone who signs up for pre-sale, they kind of send out all the codes, automatically gets added, which is super seamless and easy. But they don't do anything international. So we have an Australia tour we're announcing in a couple weeks, and we just announced like a 17-day European tour. And our big thing was like we need to have our own pre-sale. We were telling our agents just because that's kind of the next step for growing our CRM and fan lists. And so I was able to set up the entire like pre-sale through Rivet. Just like anyone who commented on the post or anyone who DM'd like what city that they wanted to see got sent the link to their DM. And all they had to do is like click it, enter their information, and then I had Rivet like just use everyone who filled out that survey, send out the code when it was time, like when tickets were on sale, and it was just done. It was easy. It was super. And I think we gained, like we have over 1,000 people in Europe now that we did not have, 2 weeks ago. So that's been super nice and super helpful.
We love these.
Yeah.
Okay. Home stretch here. What would you say to other teams that are considering Rivet or maybe even scared to try it out? What would you say to them?
I'd say go for it. Honestly, you only have things to lose, in my opinion. CRM, I mean, just being in the digital age, and kind of like I was talking about earlier, just artists seeming not even human, like real people, just kind of so separated from their fans. It's not great for the fan to artist connection, but also for the business. Engaged fans are what drives your business. And still, I feel like socials are so important, but word of mouth and a good fan experience is gonna be what continues, like keeps you growing, and keeps your trajectory kind of pointed upwards. So I'd say you only have that to lose for not trying it. It's, I mean, kind of as I mentioned earlier, it's just so easy to use, and y'all's team is so responsive. There's really not much of a limit to, I feel like, what you can do with it. So it's so easy to learn. It only takes a couple hours of your time and working with y'all's team to get involved. It's just, we've just had such a great experience, and it's by far the most powerful kind of tool that I've seen out there, just being able to segment so much data in so many different ways, literally like infinite number of ways, just based on y'all's functions and how you built the platform. It's just absolutely worth a shot.
Amazing. Yeah. I couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah.
How would you describe Rivet in one sentence?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Think about someone who's like on the fence, and I'm like, okay, Brandon said this.
Yeah. I think Rivet makes artist to fan engagements purposeful. It's not just mass blasting your list, which obviously you can do. You can just send something to 50,000 people, but that's not necessarily purposeful. It's sending the right info to the right people at the right time. And I think that's what everyone is looking for,
That's amazing. And now we're at the home stretch, last part. You touched on this a little bit. You talked about 17 dates. You have your Australia tour. You have Europe. When we spoke, you mentioned just a huge year, the rest of this year into next year that's coming. So tell us a little bit about what's in that grand plan over the next year and what we should be excited about.
Yeah.
And then the back end of that, I'll ask you how you envision Rivet playing a part in supporting that.
Definitely. When's this coming out? Is it?
we can work with you. We can work with you.
I mean, yeah, if we can make it through the spring.
Yeah.
Within, I think most of this will be out within the next month.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. We planned on this.
You're getting a sneak peek after it's out.
Yeah. We kind of planned on this being a slower year to kind of just put the album out. We put out 44 songs in the span of just over 18 months. So we have been just grinding. And so this year, kind of our goal is to rest a little bit, get our feet under us, go do the things we haven't done yet. A lot of that's been international, Europe, Australia, kind of touring wise, playing cities that we haven't played, and really just kind of let Wyatt grow as an artist. And, we've kind of made it through this first little rocket ship period. And now it's time to, just get our feet under us and grow. And that is kind of quickly not becoming the case for the year. But all in good things. We are opening for Post Malone on his stadium tour. That happened after we got drinks.
Okay.
So we're doing 12 stadium shows with Post Malone and Jelly Roll.
Tell people the name of that tour.
The Big Ass Stadium Tour. Yeah, we'll be on that. Lots of kind of touring. Obviously, 17 dates in Europe this October, all across Canada in November. And the big thing we're really going to activate on is Wyatt's kind of headlining his hometown festival called Calf Ride in Stillwater. Has the 10 to 15,000 people, I think he's headlining. And at that show, we're announcing our first headlining arena show in Tulsa in December. And Rivet's going to play a big part in that. We're going to be throwing some QR codes on the screens when he announces that, and try and run a big pre-sale and really activate kind of not just Oklahoma. We've kind of regioned out. We're not playing anywhere in Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri. Basically from May onwards, just trying to get people to come to this show. It's gonna be the biggest show of his career. Have all kinds of special guests coming in. We're trying to get people to fly to this show, and really kind of make it kind of the pinnacle moment of his career so far. So that's kind of really the big goal is once we announce that in May, really driving all the support towards that. So that's kind of our big plan for the year. And then he's hopefully, he's writing, and we'll start recording the next album for a big 2026. But yeah,
if that's a slow year, then,
I know. Yeah,
tell me what your fast year is.
not in the plan, but it all kind of just fell into place, and we're very lucky for it. And it's going to be a very fun, busy, not slow growing year. But yeah,
amazing. It's going to be a fast year.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. Use Rivet. Use Rivet.
Use Rivet. All of that. This was super fun. Thanks for making the time. Yeah. Super excited for your fast, slow year, and to support you along that journey in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you.
There's another episode of Fanarchy with Rivet. We'll catch you soon. Peace.